Good morning. It's so good to have you join us once again right here on Daybreak. It is Tuesday and let's get a bit official. Let's talk about those issues that are pressing when it comes to matters, relationship and friendship. And we are in a very important season, the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. And that is why this morning we choose to talk about exactly that. We want to talk about how to just ensure that you are in a healthy relationship. How do we deal with violence? How do we deal with toxicity in a relationship? And what are some of the things that we are supposed to be alive to us? Some of the do's and don'ts. Share with us your experiences, your thoughts. It could be you, it could be somebody you know, or a friend of somebody you know, or you're speaking for someone, whichever. We welcome all views, questions. This panel cuts across and we got you covered. We begin the show right now, and I want to introduce them in case you're meeting them for the first time. An amazing panel that we usually have right here on Daybreak each and every Tuesday. And I begin from the far right, CJ Atemo.
Alex, CJ's giggle.
Always looking dope, by the way. Let me say that to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I thought it was Roberta who was going to start because she put on the smile
You
already.
thought surprise. There you go. But you're well?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Yeah, good to see you today.
Thank you. Good to see you too.
Right.
QT. Wacha kujifanya. You're just here.
Mtoto mzuri. I'm so mzuri wa Yesu. I'm good, by the way. It's a beautiful morning. At least today didn't rain. There was no traffic. Everything good.
All right.
Roberta has just, ameniambukiza happiness.
You know, by the way, she was warning us that we need to get used to this new
her. So
by the way, mkiniona nafurahi sana.
We are here for it all. We're here for it all.
Utatuambia siri, but you're well?
Prepared to be sick of me. My happiness just keeps increasing. I know people love it when I say I'm happy because it's true. I'm always happy and I'm happy. I'm now songesha your happiness.
Yeah. To infect, we take it, but we are not complaining.
I love it.
All right, and today we want to talk about something very important. You know, it's a very important season. This 16 days of activism. A lot is happening right now when it comes to just creating awareness on the levels of gender-based violence and issues that people are facing in relationships. And we just want to talk about this sort of like on a very basic note. And I'd like to start from the very basic, Roberta. In this season, in these 16 days of activism, where ninini in a ring kwa mind yako about, you know, some of the things that are happening in the society, things that we need to really discuss and talk about in this, you know, few days that we have to create this awareness.
Something that is really ringing in my head when I hear about the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, domestic partnership violence and things like that is that I'm so excited that now we're able to push awareness, that now this is not something that's just only happening behind closed doors. And even if hatujafikia kila mtu uko mashinani, we're able to have these conversations more openly and say, yo, 1, 2, 3 is abuse, 1, 2, 3 is not safe, 1, 2, 3 is not good for you. It's time to know more, to be more educated, to be more empowered, to learn better so that you can make better decisions. And I mean, of course, it's disheartening that these are discussions that we still need to have consistently, but I just love that we're able to create awareness. And I mean disheartening in that, I don't know, I keep saying, I feel like the more tuna progress, the more tuna improve as human beings, the less we're supposed to be still intertwined in things that bring chaos and violence. But unfortunately, this is the reality. This is what is happening. People are fighting each other. There's domestic abuse going on within the homes. People are being abused emotionally, financially, in all sorts of criminal ways, and it's crazy. But I'm happy that even with the activism, like there was a walk this weekend. I was supposed to participate, but nililala. I'm so sorry. But of course, I you know, with the creating awareness and just talking about it, I wouldn't have known about the walk if I wasn't involved in such things or I wasn't actively talking about such things. So even just participating, being aware, sharing the information, talking to people, getting to hear about people and learning from them and teaching them, it's a really, really huge step towards curbing domestic partnerships violence. So it makes me happy that we can have especially such a platform that reaches millions of people and we're able to discuss it and tell people, yo, you know what? This is what you need to look out for. This is what you need to know. This is what you need to be armed with so that you can be better for yourself and generally for all the people around you.
All right.
Yeah.
And QT, I also want to hear your thoughts about how we should take advantage of this, opportunity presented to us during these days of activism.
You know, Safina, I keep saying some conversations are hard to have, you know. Some things are so hard to talk about. No one wants, because of shame, no one wants to talk about that gender-based violence. No one wants to say, he abuses me, he beats me up, she beats me up, you know, even for the men. And it's something we used to think that it's only the women that are facing GBV, but even men are facing it, and no one would want to come out and say, as a man, my wife abuses me, whether it's emotionally, financially, physically. We are actually having this conversation. We are talking about it. Nowadays, people come out and actually talk about it. I can be able to share it with a friend and not feel judged. Gone are the days whereby no one used to talk about anything. You stay in a marriage for 20 years, you're being abused, and probably you don't even know that you're being abused, because when it starts, you're younger. Maybe you're married when you're 20, 21, 22. You don't even know. You're not even aware of what's happening. By the time we are more aware of what GBV is right now, like these 16 days of activism against GBV, we are more aware. But I think even when a girl gets married at maybe 20, 21, 22, you honestly don't know what's going on. You just think it's supposed to be happening, like it's okay. But right now we are able to come out and say it is not okay. Someone is not supposed to abuse you emotionally, physically, even financially, you know. Someone putting you in a position that you feel like they own you, they actually own you, you know. These are things that we are talking about right now. And let me just say, I'm so proud of everyone that is out there. And it's really heartbreaking. The stories that are out there, Safin, even with our friends, and we don't know what's happening in their houses because we are scared of society. What will society think of me? What will my parents say? What will my friends say? I'm walking out of this marriage. I just entered this marriage the other day. I've not even finished 6 months. This person is already abusing me. So if I walk away from this relationship, if I walk away from this marriage, what will everyone say? Everyone will judge me. Also, personally, I think sometimes someone might want to stay just to prove a point and say, I want to do this for me. I don't want to say that I gave up my marriage because of ABCD. So I want to stay because of I want to prove a point to myself. So I'm really glad that we are aware, as Bobby said, and we are talking about it out there.
Breaking the silence.
It's no longer a secret.
CJ, before we even talk about options or whether it's okay to talk about it, speak up and or get to a point where you can leave out, take you back a bit.
Right.
And just let's get to discuss how we got here. If you look at the trends and what is happening in marriage these days, what is happening in relationships, people are beginning to be very scared. And these days, somebody's not scared of the things we used to be scared of, cheating and all that. People are scared that they could actually lose their lives if they get into some of these unions. And I'm here asking myself, when did it get this bad? How did we get here?
I think these things have been with us for a very long time. It's just that before they were normalized. See, if you lived within a culture that promoted violence, either as a means of discipline in quotes or love, then it wouldn't bother you that you were going through physical, emotional abuse, whichever the case, because you'd look across from your hut or your boma and you'll see that's what is happening, you know. It could be that whenever a man would come home, for example, and then not find the food that he wants, he beats his wife, and then you find that is the entire community doing that. And probably these men would be sitting together and talking about it and talking about how, you see, a woman cannot do that to me, you should have beaten her harder or something. Or probably the other way around, depending on whatever community you're dealing with. So there are certain things that have been cultural and they have been religious for a very long time, based on religious beliefs as well. There are people whose religious beliefs do not see anything wrong with them mistreating the other partner. So some of these things have been there for so long. It's only that they have just gotten a bit magnified. And with time, the same way we are getting bolder to talk about them, the other people also get bolder to practice them. So the boldness is on both sides. That as we talk about it, the one who would then do these things behind closed doors is also getting bold, because they are no longer to a great degree, they're no longer accountable to a whole community and society before. We have become a bit more individualistic currently. So even though in the past, for example, if I was to do something to my wife, a whole community would come and sit down together with us. Now, if we are living in an apartment just by ourselves in the city, whatever I do ends in that apartment. Nobody's coming from anywhere.
Your business, it's sort of like you do you in life.
So I will get bolder.
Yeah.
I'll get bolder because there's less accountability.
Yeah.
So as much as there's more talk and conversation around it, there's really no accountability. Who holds you to account when you do those things? We will talk about it here. We'll talk about it everywhere else on the media, social media. But who personally holds people accountable for when they are abusive? Who comes in? I mean, you'll be mistreating Roberta, somebody will be mistreating Roberta, but maybe even her own family won't show up to come there because everybody's busy. So they'll just be like, Bobby, come home. Nobody's coming there. Before it was a bit different. So as much as it was the norm, there looked to be a certain sense of accountability. So I believe that both sides have become bolder. The ones who are vocalizing it and the ones who are actualizing it. They become bolder. And then also we've got stresses that have come in. You know, we've got a lot of factors that are also bringing pressure on people that are making them act in certain ways. When we talk about issues of mental wellness, the manifestations of those will come even through things like gender-based violence, because somebody may be going through all kinds of stress, triggers them into a default system, something that they have seen or is within them, and then they begin to produce it on their partner. I think there are many factors that would lead us there, but they have been there in the substratum.
Robert, I want you to talk to us a bit about, the power dynamics that usually come, because for this to happen, there has to be some level of control.
Yes.
And somebody feeling like they are helpless, they are vulnerable, the other person feeling like they're actually too powerful, they can actually have their way in this relationship. Talk about these two personalities and how somebody can be able to navigate from that point of meekness and vulnerability to actually speak up, because we're encouraging people to speak up this morning and to stand up for themselves. Yeah.
And I really like that question because, most times people don't like to admit it, but I feel like when there's not a fair playing ground, when people do not match each other in certain ways, definitely it affects the dynamics. And I can give an example in the moment you already start to perceive someone as being superior to you, already there's power play, there's control. And most abuse stems from the need for control, the need to be in charge. It's really rarely about other things like even hate or jealousy or anger. Most times it's always coming from, I need to assert my dominance. I need to show you I'm bigger, better, richer, better looking, basically just bigger than the victim who's being abused. And how this happens is when people are relating with each other and hakuna hiyo sense of, especially most times, what the abuser does is they break down the victim so that they can take away their confidence, take away their self-esteem. So this already, akishanza ku eat away at the person, who this person is, already you can't show up as an equal, you can't show up as a lover, as a wife, as a husband, or as a friend. The moment someone already power play is in, the dynamics of power play is in play, already hapa hakuwezi kuwa na equality. And that's where people who are abusive, they tend to start trying to exert their control and bigness into the relationships. The victim most times is very, very unaware because, of course, when you get into relationships, all sorts of relationships, you're not expecting that someone wants to tower over you. You're not expecting that they want to take advantage with love or with, hoping, thinking, I hope this job, they treat me well and they pay me well. Then you stay there 1 month, salary hazikujangi, hakuna HR, hamuongeleshwangwi vizuri, ukiwa na issues zinalengwa. But as time goes on, you are there because you have a purpose. You need to pay your bills, you need to make more money. But the employer, if they're abusive, that's not what they see. They just see, I'm bigger than you, I'm the boss, I'm the one who decides whether you get paid or not. So then you see, by the time they're already eating at your self-esteem, you start wondering, if I leave this job, how will I get money? How will I pay my bills? fear comes in, anxiety comes in. That's why it's a bit, and then it's familiar. You already know whether I come to work or not at the end of the month, salary inaingia. So it seems comfortable, it seems familiar. This is what you know, this is safe. There's no need for me to jump and to go into something else. This is safe. So you start feeling like, because it's familiar, this is what is for me. There's no need for me to ruffle any feathers. Let me just sit in the situation. And I give an example of a job, but this basically applies in all sorts of relationships. The moment where hakuna hiyo equality, where you feel like we can have a conversation, whether you're my boss or you're my mother or my father, I can tell you, Mommy, I feel this. This is how I need us to navigate this. If there's no space for conversation, no space to be heard, no space to be listened to, and the one who's above you feels like they have to exert that they are the big one, that automatically
so they deliberately
into
break that chain of communication.
It's always intentional, because they do it knowing if you cannot come to me, if communication cannot come upwards, it means you cannot bring your grievances to me. If I'm abusing you financially in the home and I'm the one who pays the bills, and anytime you want to discuss paying for things, I'm busy, I'm tired, or I cause a fight, I cause an argument, how will we ever discuss anything? How will we ever reach a standpoint where we can say, you know, December we are planning this, it's always going to be my money is mine, whatever I say is what we're doing. So you either abide by it or you jump ship. And by the time uko hapo kwa hiyo situation, ni ngumu kujitoa. Naonanga watu wengi sana waki shame victims by asking questions like, why don't you just leave? That man is abusive, he beats you up. Why don't you just quit that job? Why don't you just move away from home if your parents are abusive? Why don't you? You're asking, first of all, the wrong people the question. You're asking the victims the question. One, you should be asking the abuser, why can't you pay this guy their worth? Why can't you treat your daughter with respect? Why can't you love your husband and be kind to him? Why do you stop beating these kids? That's abusive. One. Second, we're not giving them space already to come as they are, because already it's judgment. By the time you go to the victim and start asking them, why can't you leave that situation? It's like you're already putting them at fault for deciding to stay or for being in that situation. And that's why I'm saying with this 16 days of activism, especially as we move into the holidays, you know, unfortunately, during the holidays is when the statistics for abuse go up, especially within the homes, because this is when the kids are home, this is when the families are home with each other, so the abuse rates spike up. And I like that with this 16 days of activism, we're actually bringing it into light and saying, yo, this is what is happening. Kwa ground wase wanafanya hivi.
All right.
Na ukijua 1, 2, 3, you're able to prevent this. And I know you cannot really tell an abuser not to abuse. I mean, you can curb by implementing laws and things that can keep them away from the victims. But I think the more awareness we have, the more we're having these discussions and actually talking to people and letting them know the saying hata ujuangi abuse ni nini, ujuangi difference ya abuse, ujuangi I'm being abused. You just think it's normal because that's what you're used to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I want QT to come in, because she has talked about that person that you can actually tell outrightly that this person is treating you unfairly, this person is doing this and that. But we have another category of abusers.
Yeah.
Wale ni kama
Covert.
Wale wanakuuma na
Wanakupuliza.
Like the guy who bought the car for the lady.
Oh my God, yeah.
Talk to us about, it gets to a point where it's not even the guys, even the ladies.
Yeah.
Unapata, she's so toxic. But you really can't put a word to whatever is happening. You can't say it's abuse. You really can't understand what's going on. Well, una feel too funny, but you can't tell what it is, because sometimes they are so sweet. Sometimes they jump from 0 to 100, like very fast. Talk to us about, that kind of an arrangement. And for somebody who could be in that kind of a space, how do they identify whether this is abuse or this is actually the way this person is expressing their love?
You know, the abusers are very smart. First of all, they will come like Romeo. They'll make you feel loved, because abuse does not start with all the bad things. It all starts rosy. All relationships start with, hi, I love you, I can't be without you. I'm everything to you, And abusers, they're very smart, because first of all, they start by isolating you. Like, can we move to another place? Can we move, my job? Can we move to another? They isolate you. They move you out from other people. people, first of all, maybe your friends, your family, because sometimes they feel like if you spend too much time with your family, if you spend too much time with your friends, they won't get that space for abusing you and all this. So first of all, they isolate you. So once they isolate you, again, they make you dependent on them emotionally, financially, physically. They make you like, you start feeling like, this guy can't do without
and
me.
It's gradual.
It's gradual. It's step by step, pole pole. So by the time you're not realizing all these things, the guy would be like, please don't go. Maybe you might get a job offer somewhere, and they're like, if you go to live in another town without me, I can't do without you. You know, I love you so much, and I don't want you to be away from me. Those are the gradual, I'm not saying I'm an expert in this, but I feel like those are the gradual steps that people start. They make you feel dependent, like, if I leave, if I go for this event, what will my husband or wife be doing in the house the whole day, you know? So it starts as a process. By the time you realize all these things, you can't. It's like you're playing blind to them. You can see them, but you can't see them. You know, Safin, like, if someone tells you, I'll die without you, I can't do without you. I mean, that's already a lie.
Dramatic.
I know. I'll commit suicide. You know, I can't do without you.
Yeah.
You know, I love you. So once they make you dependent on them and you cannot do any other thing, your life revolves around this abuser. And, you know, they start using the excuses of, you know, I grew up around abuse. So some people might decide to use that against you. That now the abuser, not the victim, they might decide to use that against you. You as the victim, you haven't realized what this person is doing to you actually. You're like, hey, and yeah, this is love. And we're all blind to love, you know, at some point, because if you love someone, you don't want to hurt them. So you start walking on eggshells. So one day you do something and they hit you, and then they're like, baby, I am so sorry. I have never done that in my life. I don't know what came over me. I am really sorry. They buy you gifts and say, by the way, I'm sorry, Amma, they take you out for dinner. So for you, you're like, oh, he didn't mean it. He didn't mean to hit me, or she didn't mean to say what, she didn't mean to raise her voice against me. So you're like, it's okay, we are going to go back to normal. Then it happens again the second time. Then they apologize. Now that is normalization. You start normalizing this behavior. They hit you, they apologize, they buy you gifts, and you're like, he's going to change. I'm going to stay here because this guy is going to change, by the way. This lady is going to change. My woman is going to change. She can't be raising her voice at me. And people think the abusers are men, but even women are abusers because
trends are changing.
Trends are changing, because if I slap my husband or my boyfriend, that's already abusing him. If I raise my voice at him, emotional abuse. Wewe hata, by the way, mi hata spendi vile unaka. Hata spendi vile we udress. Una dress aji, unaka cheap. As in, why would you wear that jeans? You know, if I start talking to my man like that, that's already emotional abuse, Safin. The way you talk, the way you address someone, it starts like that. So you'll start feeling like you're small. They make you feel so small, and you'll be like, she doesn't like the way I dress. Then why are you with me in the first place? Why didn't you see that from the time we were dating or from day one? So these things come gradually, and they get that power away from you. They take away the power from you. So you start feeling small. You start feeling like you're not enough for them. And I think that's something that the victim go through. And as I like what Bobby said, we are asking the wrong questions. Why did you stay while he was beating you, while she was shouting at you, while she was slapping you? Why did you stay? Why are we asking that question? We should be asking the abuser, why are you hitting her? Why are you beating this woman? Why are you beating this man? Why are you doing this too? We always ask the wrong question, and it's so heartbreaking. I think at first we never used to understand these things. We used to be like, why are you staying in this marriage? That's not, it doesn't make sense.
About all
we are asking the wrong questions, and we are asking the wrong people.
The wrong person.
Yeah.
And CJ, that is where you come in. Mpaka umesema.
Your point here, isolation, imeni touch. Yeah.
You know, CJ, this question about why do you stay? Is leaving usually the only option to really address matters of abuse, or what is it that we should? Can we look at other opportunities within? Is leaving always the option?
Well, it is a great option. It may not be the only, but it is a great option, because if you listen to the thread of talk, the abuser has to create the codependency for them to continue abusing. And the abused or the victim may not have an identity outside of the abuser. after a while, that's why it becomes difficult for them to make decisions for themselves. That's why they lose their self-esteem, because they cannot find themselves outside of this person. And so sometimes the thing of the separation is actually to bring this person to a place where they begin to build their self again.
Okay.
So that they have a life outside and away from the other person. It may not mean that it is the end of the relationship, but it is to bring them to their senses, like there is a you. There is a you who can think and can feel and can decide, and you can develop your own ecosystem without necessarily being the prey in this other person's ecosystem. Because they get so mashed up in what has been created, the norm that we're talking about, that then they do not see anything else. And so they will very easily have adaptation to that. So sometimes that would be very helpful. Only if it is an intervention to bring this person to the place of self-realization.
So separation.
Yes.
I want to get you very clear.
Yes,
Separation.
it is separation.
Yeah, for some time.
For some time, with the view to get this person to recover themselves. Because again, if you separate them and then you're not building them, they will go back to what they're used to. If there's nothing that is happening, if they're not building themselves emotionally and mentally and sometimes spiritually and financially, they will just walk back to what they have been in, because that is a whole ecosystem again. So if you bring them out, they need to come out and get into something that will grow them and develop them and give them options and make them feel better about how they are. That's when people begin to think, but what was I doing in that relationship all this while? Why was I even stuck there? Why was I even crazy there for this person? Because they realize they can actually make their own money, pay their bills. They can make decisions. Sometimes money is not the issue, but they can make decisions. Sometimes they just realize so they can actually have a peaceful environment, because they've never had that. It's been chaotic all through. And they realize you can actually go back to your house in the evening and not have trauma, that they're going to be chaos in the night. So you don't always have to have anxiety. I'm coming in, he or she is coming in, or we're about to have a fight. The temperatures in the house are not very good, so you begin to get tense. You don't know what next is going to come. You find somebody will walk into a single room, into a bedsitter, begin life afresh, and they can't believe how long they slept and how peaceful it is. And you begin to realize, so there can be life away from the other person, and you're not dying. So I think sometimes separation is a necessary intervention, but only when it has the intention to make this person come to a place of self-realization. So in doing that, you don't focus on the toxicity on the other side. We're not bringing you out to keep on talking about Fred. We're bringing you out because we're trying to move you away from Fred. So we're bringing you
Fred
out
was just
to
chilling.
build you up. We're building you up for yourself, because see,
So it's sort of like a self-realization journey.
this is just about now you.
You start with.
This is you.
Yeah.
Because focusing on the other person is what actually puts you in that trap. And if you keep on thinking about them and talking about them and what they have done and how could they do this to you and what they've done and what they're doing to the next person, what they're saying, then they will remotely control you.
But aren't you supposed to really allow yourself to really whine about it? Itoke kwa roho hiyo hasira hiyo. You know that thing, eh?
Yeah, you see, but
Give yourself that season of.
well, you can do that.
Kasirikia
But if
dito.
I am the person who brings intervention around you, so now I'm talking about the support system. When you pull you out, I'm not supposed to focus there.
All right.
I may be there for you to ventilate, but I'm not there to start talking about how this person was treating you and all that.
Okay.
Because again, you see, if we pull Bobby out, forgive me for using Bobby, because, you know, QT has her bare minimum. So if we pull Bobby out, and then we start talking about this person a lot, what happens is that they're not only seeing the things that she wants, that I want her to see, she also begins to remember the times that they had
good
that were
times.
good times. So you're complicating this matter. So in order to move somebody from what they have, you need to show them something else.
Yeah.
Don't keep on showing them how what they have is broken. Show them how what they are moving into is better. And if it is compelling, then they will walk into it. So it really takes a lot from the support system as well, not to get that emotionally involved, because sometimes then you push these people back into what they had. Yeah.
All right, so you had there's room for separation, but it has to be deliberate. It has to be that season that you get to that space where you begin to discover what went wrong and think about you and what you want out of that relationship. What is it that hurt you and how do you deal with that? It's a moment that is for you, and the advocate of you and self-awareness is just sitting right next to you. It gets to that space where somebody feels like they're so worthless. After you've gone through some level of abuse, maybe it's been something that has taken so many years. There could be somebody watching us, they've been in maybe a marriage for so long, they've normalized what their circumstances. They feel like they're so worthless, like there's nothing that they can offer even themselves or the world. What do you tell that person? We are in these 16 days of activism. Somebody's feeling like, me, this is my... It's like, this is me now. This is my life. And this is how it's going to be like for me going forward. I have nothing to offer. I have nothing to do. I have nothing to aspire. I have no dreams, no ambitions, nothing. What do you tell that person, that broken person who's watching us this morning?
First off, I really enjoy listening to CJ and QT speak, because I realize most times when people are talking, we don't really listen. Like, we don't listen. You hear what people are saying, but if you really, really hard, you'll hear CJ literally gave you the hack. He already said what to do. And I was nodding when he was speaking, because that's exactly what I did when I was in an abusive relationship. To get out, you have, everything he just said right now, you have to remove yourself. It's difficult. And I keep reiterating this, where, especially in my line of work, first of all, you can't help anyone that has not accepted they have a problem. That's normally the first step. Someone has to accept, this is an abusive situation, I need help. Kama hajafika your point, there is not much you can do, unless maybe you come get them with cops and you take them somewhere and you hide them. They will still find a flight and they will come back. Because if they've not made that decision from within, that's very, very difficult. And something I would say to someone who feels worthless, I'm just going to echo what CJ said. You have to start believing in yourself. And I know it's difficult. Hizi vitu zote tunasema, if you're not, kama hujafika hiyo point, you're accepting that you have an issue, everything that we say here, it will just be another talk that people have. You'll ask yourself questions like, these guys, they don't understand. You'll feel like Bobby is on there anaongea tu hapo, yako privileged, hajui kuwa abused, so easy understand. That's why she can say such things like, move on, leave him, do better, love yourself, choose yourself. These things sound like, they sound like it's easier said than done, or like it's some generic sort of information that a certain type of people who live in utopia, they go through. Only the learned, rich, good-looking people, they're the only ones who can walk out of abusive situations. But I'm here to tell you, literally anyone can do it. All these things we're talking about, it's because we know, it's because we've been through them, or we've studied them, or we've done it some point, or we've been on the receiving end of the abuse, or even maybe we've been the abuser at some point. So we're speaking, I'm just going to implore to the guys, listen, there's nothing extra that can be said about it. Oh, Siju, you need this. It's just as simple as kujipenda. That's the bottom line, that's the baseline. The moment you start to care about yourself, you care about how you feel, how you look, how you dress, what you eat, where you go, who you hang around, all these things start to, everything else that's external, that does not match your standard of how you love yourself, it will never fit in your life. And I know when someone is abused, it's very difficult for them to see any other side, but that's where what CJ said, you have to remove yourself for the situation, for you to look back into it and see, oh, kumbe nikijitoa kwa Fred, si lazima nishinde nikiongea juu ya Fred, si lazima nikuwe naendelea kuabusiwa na Fred. But when you're still there with Fred, it's very difficult to see, because he will slap you and he will buy you a car. You didn't tell anyone you were slapped. There's this quote I saw, this is me speaking to the ladies now exclusively. I always say I speak to the women because I'm a woman. CJ can speak to the men. This is nothing against men, but I always say, This is something I learned recently. As a woman, you can never love a man in private. Never do it, never try, never let anyone to convince you. And I'm just giving this example, like I said, because I'm hetero and I date men. Don't ever love a man in private. I'll explain. When you have a community around you, community of women, you're able to share, you're able to talk. If I come today to work and I tell QT, manze chali yangu la slap, but I'm by gari, but I'm slap. You see, already QT is on alert. She knows something is happening. I need to be closer to Bobby. My community will already be alert. But the moment someone removes you from your community, you have no one to talk to. You can't share. It comes with being abused comes with a lot of shame, a lot of embarrassment, a lot of feelings of unworthiness, a lot of fear and anxiety. Shame especially. So guilt, even to walk away, you start feeling, sa nikimwacha, anapenda nikimpikia ugali, nani atakuwa nampikia ugali kama mimi? You know, you start asking, watu watasema nini? You start asking, exactly. Yeah. People will see I'm a failure. But when you're around a community, a very strong community, especially of women, I promise, people who love you, they will never, never let you, nini. So you working on yourself, it directly projects onto you having a community that is going to surround you. So if you're going through things, kama leo kwa makeup room, we're talking about how I'm so happy and everyone, and I gave the reasons why I used to be unhappy a month ago. And Kina QT were telling me, you know, even me, I wanted to tell you, I wanted to tell you. So you see, they had me complaining, they had everything I was going through, and they would offer me advice and try to, but now that I've worked it all out, you see, now they are able to be happy for me, like, oh, Fuchs, finally umetoka kwa hiyo situation ilikuwa inakustress. And I would never have been able to see how miserable I am, because the makeup artist, Agi, was telling me, Manze used to complain all the time. There's no day you used to just come to work and be happy. And now look at me. So it's
you're loving the new you.
Exactly. So it's very intentional work. You can't just sit back and think that these things come to you. It has to be very intentional work. You have to work on yourself, work on your community. Immediately you start feeling like, even if it's one friend, have one friend that you trust. Because the moment you're in a situation where you start feeling like you're being abused at your job, when you share, the people around you are able to give you sound advice. They're able to give you an outsider's opinion. They're able to guide you, support you better. Please don't ever love in private. Sijui situationship, sijui sneaky link. Wachaneni na hizo vitu, please. Bring your lover here. Let us see him. Let us get to know how does he treat you.
Bring your lover.
Yes. Let us hear about him so that we're able to say, QT, that guy, I didn't like how he spoke to you in the morning when he was dropping you off.
All right. Yeah, and just to set the record straight, we are not in any way advocating people to atiwaache nyumba zao, waache mabwana zao, that is not what we are saying. But what I like about what CJ said earlier is that healthy separation, because it gives you that room to really think about whether this relationship is what you want for yourself. And you know, when you're in that space where you're not sure whether to leave or not to leave, actually you can take advantage of that healthy separation. Yes. You've not left that person, but you're just breathing fresh air. Uamue, ujijue kwanza, ndio kama unarudi kama uko better. A better version of yourself.
Definitely.
Unajua watu wanaweza fikiria tunasema, oh,
No, this is for legitimate relationships.
Yes, zile vitu legit. Yeah? Okay, so we are almost winding up.
Yes.
And I want to get your final thoughts. Yeah? What's your clarion call in this season of just campaign and awareness against GBV?
Personally, I understand the victims, what they're going through. Like, I'd say it's not their fault, honestly. You're just out there, you've decided to love someone, you want to create a family, you're in love. So let's first stop blaming the victims, like, wacha kukaa, why did you stay? Try to create an open environment whereby they can come, the way Bobby has said, said, like, create a support system. Let's create a support system for the victims, especially the people that are going through abuse. I want Bobby to come and talk to me and say, by the way, this person is doing ABCD to me. I might not be able to advise her, like, talk away or whatever, but being there for her and supporting. Let's support the victims. Eventually, they're going to leave, because you don't stay there forever. Nothing lasts forever, Safin. Eventually, the victim is going to leave, but let's create a support system for the victims. And for the abusers, most of the time, they do that thing because they want to. There's no excuse for abusing someone. I grew up in an abusive environment. You know, work was bad. Childhood trauma. You know, work was bad today. So I just came home feeling so angry. Why are you angry at me? Why are you bringing all that to me? So there's no excuse for GBV, even for the women. And actually, the men that are going through it, please don't feel shame to talk to you. Make sure that you have someone that you can talk to. It doesn't have to be an expert. You can even talk to your friend. You can talk to your mom, you know, you can talk to your brother, your sister. It could be anyone. So even for the abusers, let's call them out. I would say that. Just call out an abuser. If you feel like someone is abusing you or abusing someone else, call them out, because they don't like being called out. They are pained. Yani ukimwambia kwanza sasa ndio anachizi anakuwa mwenda wazimu. But let's call out the abusers. Let's support the victims. Let's be there for them. And you as an individual, be self-aware of yourself. Learn to love yourself more. Don't give someone the power to actually make you feel like they have everything, they can decide everything for you, whether it's the work that you choose to go to, whether it's the dress code, whether it's the food you eat, whether it's anything. Like we say, just be self-aware, love yourself, and believe in yourself more.
In yourself.
Yes.
Right. CJ, you get the final word. And I want you to address the abusers. Umeongea sana kuhusu victims and how to support them. You know. But then, do we have anything that we can tell the abuser in this situation of activism?
Well, I think if you can tell why you're an abuser, then you actually have no reason being an abuser. If you can say, I am this because of this, then it means that you have already identified your problem, so you have refused to work on it because you have diagnosed it. I would understand somebody who does not realize they are abusive. But where I can actually tell you I'm doing this because this happened to me, then the onus is on me. I already know I have an issue. I already know where the issue is coming from. I need to seek help. And abusers need to seek help. They need to be healed from the things that are making them feel the need to dominate people, the thing that makes them feel like they need to push people down and to put them down completely. So as an abuser as well, you're talking about, this is what happened to me, this is what I saw my father doing to my mother, or my mother doing to my father, whatever. Then seek help so that you do not pass that thing on to the other people. To the abused, you know, perversion requires permission. Nothing happens that you do not allow. And it normally begins in a very subtle way. It will be the first meeting that you have, and this person does certain things, but because you really want the relationship to work, you permit it. Then now the next time, this person feels this is normal. So you keep on saying, okay, let me see how far this will go, probably they will change. Then it gets entrenched. So I think that there are certain things that should be bare minimum that you do not allow right from the very beginning. You can actually decide, I'm not having this relationship at all, or we are not going forward with this.
All right. Thank you so much, CJ Atemo, for saying that. And of course, you can continue following this conversation. We'll be uploading this show on YouTube. And join us every Tuesday. This is what we do right here on Daybreak. We really appreciate your time. And we were with QT, the lovely QT, and the amazing Roberta. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for creating time. That's how we wrap it up right here on Daybreak this morning. Have a lovely day ahead.